Hello everyone, today I bring you a very interesting manhwa. I hope you like it. Now let's go to the video. The protagonist of the story is Jang Mao, an avid fan of fiction who is often seen engrossed in reading. One day, he muses to himself, "If I were the protagonist of a novel, money, power, fortune, everything would be mine." His words carry such conviction that, as he takes another step, it feels as if he's stepping into thin air. Beneath him, a portal suddenly opens, and he falls into it. While falling, he cries out for help, only to find himself surrounded by what seem like movie-like scenes playing around him until everything fades to black. When he opens his eyes again, he finds a beautiful woman resting on his lap. Startled, he exclaims, "My God, what is this? What kind of situation is this?" He wonders if he had fallen into a hole, but here he is, in this strange place. As he ponders what happened, a beeping sound resonates in his ears, and a system screen appears before him, welcoming him as the host. The system informs him that he has been transported to the world of the year 90,000, and that his new body's original owner was falsely accused of stealing a body-tempering pill from Fu Yanji of the Pharmaceutical Furnaces Division. As punishment, the previous owner was imprisoned in the Devil's Tower, a place for sealing demons. The system further explains that his second sister, Meng Bao, tried to save him but ended up severely injured in the process. Saddened by this, Zhang Mao looks at Meng Bao lying unconscious and asks the system, "She looks seriously hurt. Should we just let her die?" The system reminds him that Meng Bao is one of his future companions, and their life forces are intertwined. If she dies, so will he. However, if they survive, their dual cultivation sessions in the future will significantly enhance his strength. Realizing the urgency, Zhang Mao orders the system to save Meng Bao. The system grants him a chance to live due to his special Yang God physique, which makes him responsible for expelling demons. A mission is issued. He must take Meng Bao to the medicinal spring of the Medical Furnace Division within 1 hour to heal her injuries. To aid him, the system provides a star technique scroll, which contains methods to repair internal meridians and external bones, boosting physical strength and cultivation speed. However, failure means death for both. Shocked by the short time frame, Zhang Mao quickly picks Meng Bao up and runs. He feels the original owner's memories resurface within him as he heads toward the tower. Before the imposing structure, he remarks, "This is the demon court of the 90,000-year world. The people here are tough men who slay demons. And yet, instead of giving me a capable body, they've placed me in the shell of a useless man with the same name and surname as mine." Arriving at the spring, he realizes it is the key to Meng Bao's recovery. As he moves, he hears the voice of Yanji, who is searching for him. To avoid being discovered, Zhang Mao leaps into the medicinal lake. However, Meng Bao, unconscious, cannot hold her breath. His only option is to share his breath with her mouth to mouth. They exchange air repeatedly while hiding underwater, with Meng Bao seemingly enjoying the sensation subconsciously. Meanwhile, above the water, Yanji's subordinates report that they couldn't find Zhang Bao nearby. Suspicious, Yanji notices bubbles rising from the lake but pretends not to, telling the others to leave. Once underwater, Meng Bao regains consciousness and sees Zhang Mao kissing her. Furious, she uses her strength to throw him out of the water, calling him a scoundrel. As she steps out, dripping wet, she accuses him, "I rescued you from the demon-sealing tower, and now you're taking advantage of me." Blushing, she adds that he was rude. Zhang Mao, trying to explain the situation, insists it's a misunderstanding. But Meng Bao grabs his ear and demands an explanation. Before he can answer, Yanji appears, laughing maniacally. "Playing fish in the midst of impending death, are we?" he jeers. With a crazed expression, Yanji declares, "Escaping the tower is a capital offense, Zhang Mao. I won't let you get away today." Yanji shouts for Meng Bao to hand over the protagonist to him. However, Meng Bao still protects the protagonist, saying he must not intimidate him while she is there. Before long, they are already surrounded. Yanji, laughing mockingly, says to her, "What do you have to offer except big breasts?" Then Yanji launches an attack against the protagonist, declaring that he must die today, but the attack misses. Meng Bao quickly pushes him back and begins fighting the extras, demonstrating great skill, while telling the protagonist to flee to the mountain and that she will meet him there later. Guys, I took a break from the manhwa to say that if you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, but 90% of those who watch the video don't subscribe, so I'm counting on your help. Now let's go back to the manhwa. However, Yanji, wielding a strange green power, says he won't allow it. He attempts to strike Meng Bao, who swiftly dodges and notices that his attack carries poisonous gas. Soon after, she is hit by another faster blow, sending her flying away. The protagonist quickly tries to catch her so she doesn't hit the ground. She falls onto him, and the two blush. Seeing this and envious of them, Yanji leaps and attempts a downward strike. The protagonist, realizing that Yanji is not joking around, shouts to the system, asking if it isn't going to give him his reward from the previous mission. The system promptly appears and says the host finally remembered the reward. It then grants him the previously shown star technique as a reward. The system announces that after learning the star technique, the host gained Meridian Realm strength for half an hour. Before being struck, the protagonist quickly stands up and begins to emanate great power. As Yanji is about to hit him, the protagonist still has time to say how Yanji dares accuse him of stealing the elixir and points out every step of the way. He declares they must settle this today. With immense strength, he grabs Yanji's arm. Yanji, shocked, wonders how someone in the first stage of the body-forging realm can have so much power. Perhaps it's an illusion, but the protagonist releases even more strength and lands a headbutt to Yanji's chest, causing him to faint instantly. Meng Bao immediately grabs him, asking if he is okay. The protagonist confirms that he is fine. Yanji, having regained consciousness from his knockout, weakly asks how he could lose to someone so weak before fainting again. Concerned, Meng Bao asks the protagonist why she feels he is different. The protagonist responds seriously, "Second sister, I feel that you are also different." Worried, she places her hand on his forehead, saying that this isn't good. The protagonist remarks that they were poisoned by Yanji. He then asks her what they should do and if they are going to die. Meng responds, "Don't forget our eldest sister is a specialist healer. If we go to her, we can get rid of the poison." She immediately pulls him by the arm, saying they should regroup with everyone at the foot of the mountain. As they walk through the mountain, the poison begins to take effect, leaving them very tired. The protagonist soon notices that the star technique has greatly improved his physique, momentarily suppressing the poison. Meng Bao, about to faint, says, "Elder sister is in the forest at the foot of the mountain," before collapsing again into the protagonist's arms. Worried, he tries to wake her, but without success. He says he will protect her and holds her in his arms once more. Softly, he whispers that she sacrificed her life to save his, and for that, he won't let anything happen to her. After walking further, the protagonist sits under a tree, wondering where the elder sister is. He soon hears her voice calling him, saying it's been a long time since they've seen each other. With her beauty, she continues, saying it has been 6 months. The protagonist exclaims that she has finally appeared. However, still with her seductive appearance, she asks, "Why are you looking for me with such urgency? Do you want to die?" The protagonist, completely blushing, says it's a misunderstanding and that something very important is at stake. A life is in danger. She hugs the protagonist, reminiscing about how happy they were as children. "The view here is beautiful. Come, let me see if my little brother has gotten stronger," she says. The protagonist awkwardly tells her to behave and points to Meng Bao, who is by his side, and says, "The second sister is poisoned and may not last long." Suddenly, she notices Meng Bao and calls her name. Beside her, the protagonist declares that everything was Yanji's fault, accusing him of stealing the pill from the medicine house. The protagonist explains that Yanji wanted to take him back to prison, and the second sister was trying to save him. The older sister holds the second sister and comments that this poison is strange and could pose significant danger. Worried, the protagonist asks what they should do. The older sister quickly notices something odd and lets out a small gasp. The protagonist, alarmed, asks what happened. She steps back slightly and explains that the poison is of an extremely yin nature. Since both Meng Bao and the protagonist have extremely yin constitutions, they've been contaminated as well. She admits she was careless. Even more concerned, the protagonist repeatedly asks what they should do. Approaching him, she begins to emanate green energy. She places her finger on his forehead, which begins to glow golden, and says, "The enemy of poison is yang energy. I'll show you the antidote, and you'll help us rid ourselves of the yin poison." Curious, the protagonist asks how he will cure them. As she transfers the necessary information through her touch, he quickly learns what to do. Sitting in front of the sisters, the protagonist, just before beginning, says, "Sisters, for the sake of your lives," apologizing before proceeding. Touching their pressure points, the sisters begin to make strange noises. The older sister, gasping seductively, states she can feel the poison leaving her body. They both experience an intense climax as the poison is expelled. The protagonist, now exhausted but satisfied, collapses and faints. The older sister, worried, tries to wake him. When he regains consciousness in a bed, his sisters are overjoyed that he has awakened. Getting up, he asks where they are. The older sister explains that they are in an inn. The protagonist admits he thought he had returned to the demonic court. Meng Bao interjects, "Return to the demonic court? If we don't kill Fu Yanji, it's likely he will return in this lifetime." The older sister says she'll take them to a nearby safe place left by their master. Curious, they ask where this place is. She reveals it's the empty city of Qing, 300 kilometers away. Meng Bao then asks, "It's been 2 years since the master left the demonic court. Where exactly did he go?" The older sister replies that all she knows is that he went to a secret place and that she has no other clues. While they enjoy a moment of peace at the inn, someone wielding a whip begins attacking the guests. Their private room is also targeted, and Meng Bao is caught and bound unexpectedly. Both the protagonist and the older sister become alarmed, realizing the severity of the situation. The older sister notices the whip is absorbing Meng Bao's blood and attempts to cut it with her sword, but it has no effect. The whip retaliates, capturing the older sister as well and dragging both women out of the inn. Desperate, the protagonist runs after them, shouting for the demon to release his sisters. Jumping outside the inn, he faces a demon that thrives on absorbing human blood. The demon uses vine-like whips to ensnare the protagonist. The monster then forces the older sister and the protagonist into compromising contact, leaving the protagonist embarrassed. Apologizing, he expresses his relief that she's still alive. The demon, in a terrifying voice, declares his fortune in finding cultivators at night. After absorbing their essence, he will advance significantly in his cultivation, debating who to absorb first. His vines move erratically, causing the protagonist to accidentally kiss Meng Bao. The demon decides to start with the protagonist, extending his tongue. Sensing the imminent danger, the older sister manages to manipulate a vine, placing herself between the demon's tongue and the protagonist, protecting him. At that moment, the system appears, displaying the message, "Congratulations to the host for activating the main mission, Ancient Bonds. Save the older and second sisters to deepen their affection for the host. Once their affection level reaches 100%, they will be able to merge and cultivate together. Different levels of affection yield different effects." Shocked, the protagonist curses the system for assigning him a mission at such a critical time. He wonders how he can save their lives when he can barely save his own. The older sister, growing weaker, apologizes to her younger brother for being unable to protect him. Determined, the protagonist tells her to hold on, promising to save her. He recalls that every demon has an essence core and resolves to attack its face. The demon mocks him, asking how he'll manage with such short legs. The protagonist retorts sarcastically, "How dare you mock me for being short? You're the short one. Your whole family is short." Seizing an opportunity, the protagonist lands a kick on the demon's core, causing it to howl in pain and release its grip on them. Enraged and in agony, the demon tightens its vines, trying to crush the protagonist and his sisters. However, it eventually releases them due to the intense pain. While the demon thrashes wildly, the protagonist grabs his sister's hands, urging them to flee together. The monster, however, does not give up and tries to catch them again. But the older sister turns around and cuts the monster's vines this time, saying, "I was distracted before and you caught me. Now you want to try again? You have no chance." She then charges toward the tree. After suffering another attack from the older sister, the tree defends itself, and her blade breaks. She is left puzzled as to how this is possible. Worried, the others call out to her. Meng Bao quickly says, "The tree is at level 3. This is a problem." The protagonist attempts to help her, saying he cannot bear to see her die in front of him. However, Meng Bao grabs his arm and says, "If you go there, you'll die too." The cultivation of demons and the cultivation of humans are divided differently. From the 1st to the 10th level, the 3rd level is already equivalent to the innate realm of humans. Neither you nor I are a match for it. He turns to her and asks what they should do, but the system intervenes with an alternative. The system's beginner reward has been distributed. The protagonist holds a scroll as the system informs him, "This is the manual of swords. Love is stronger than gold. It requires a man and a woman to understand this truth, and both must feel affection for each other. If you and your second sister can understand this together, perhaps you can counterattack the tree demon." Holding the scroll, the protagonist says, "This manual of swords, love is stronger than gold, requires a man and a woman to feel attracted to each other. Me and my second sister." Curious, Meng Bao asks, "This is the manual of swords. Love is stronger than gold? Where are you going with this?" The protagonist then asks if she might know about this manual. Blushing and looking away, she replies, "Yes, I've heard of it." Without wasting time, she starts kissing him. Their hearts begin to race, and the protagonist feels his heartbeat accelerating. He wonders if his second sister is trying to provoke him, awakening feelings of affection. His heartbeat surges rapidly, and the system announces, "The technique is activated. Love is stronger than gold." The scroll in his hand begins to glow red. As they exchange their love for one another, a pink glow enters their bodies, causing them to feel something different and making their energy overflow. They quickly summon their respective elemental weapons. Meng Bao rushes toward the monster to save the older sister, who is hanging precariously. She calls out for them not to worry about her, but Meng Bao, whose level has now risen, easily cuts the vines holding her. Below, the protagonist catches her, saying, "We share the same destiny. We would never abandon you." She feels happy as they reunite. The monster, in a dominant voice, asks, "How dare you children stand before me, 100-year-old demon?" Releasing its fury, numerous vines erupt from the ground, but the two easily cut them down. They seem perfectly synchronized, thanks to the love technique. Their powers are at their peak, completely in harmony, even though their elements are different. The demon feels oppressed by the pressure their technique exerts. With his firepower, the protagonist delivers a powerful blow, splitting the demon in half. The demon's final words are, "It cannot be." After cutting it down, the protagonist is amazed by this technique. The system quickly chimes in, congratulating the host for completing the mission. It also announces a new system feature. Rewards can now be found in the system shop. Surprised by this new function, the system continues. There are many treasures in the shop, all of which can be traded or purchased with negotiation tokens. They are points earned upon completing tasks. Quickly, he asks how many points he has. The system says he has 0. The protagonist is surprised to have 0 after killing the demon tree. The system explains, "I've advanced the points for the sword technique. Love is stronger than gold, so it's compensated with points." Meng Bao picks up something strange from the ground and shows it to him, saying it fell from the tree. His elder sister quickly grabs it and says it's a token of the demonic order. The protagonist asks what the token is for. Surprised, the elder sister explains, "The symbol of the demonic order is a war signal used by the demonic tribe. Any demon possessing the symbol will gather and launch attacks against the human race." Surprised, the protagonist asks if the demons will chase them again. The elder sister says it's necessary to investigate further. She then lifts the token and says, The token of the demonic order has an attraction to others of its kind. We can follow its guide and take a look. Soon, they start following the direction where the token is being attracted. They arrive at a location where a group of demons with human-like forms is gathered. The protagonist and his sisters are hiding behind a bush. The protagonist states that it's chaos there, with demons everywhere. He asks what they are doing. The elder sister says, "There must be some kind of event, and you need a magic password to enter." Meng Bao observes that there are also humans among them. She quickly notices that Master Yanji's mentor, Fu Boqi, is there. The protagonist, not understanding, wonders if Yanji's mentor is really mingling with demons. The system announces a new mission. New mission available. Please go to the cave to investigate the demon's activities. The time to complete the mission is 1 hour. Surprised, the protagonist asks the system, "It seems like you're trying to throw me into a cauldron full of demons. Is this your plan?" The system quickly responds, "There is a reward for completing the mission and a lightning penalty for failing, so choose one." Without thinking twice, he quickly puts on a mask and says that he's dealing with a very problematic system. The elder sister, confused, asks what he's doing. The protagonist tells them to wait for him there as he goes to investigate a bit. At the entrance of the location, the demons ask him to wait and show his demonic token. He shows the token from the tree he killed earlier. With that, the demons let him in. Sweating coldly, he thinks he was lucky they didn't find out. Inside, at the center of all the demons and humans supporting the demons, the main figure is commenting, "The demon court has always been against us, but this time we can finally turn the tables." He shows a map scroll and says, "I already have the defense map of the demon court. If we manage to surround the Great Formation, we can enter directly and eliminate them completely." The one speaking at the center of everyone is the Fourth Order Demon King, Jingbing. One of the demon extras says to his lord that the demon court has several strong people and asks if they can defeat them if they manage to enter. The demon king Jingbing responds, "Of course, because we have our own people inside the demon court. Mr. Fuboki, come out and let everyone know you." He immediately steps forward and introduces himself. "Everyone, my name is Fuboki. I am the second elder of the Demon Court's Punishment Division." He then says he will suppress all those against their plans, and anyone opposing them will be eliminated. The Demon King comments that he is a rather cunning traitor. The crowd thinks that with internal collaboration, it will be easier to take the Demon Court. The protagonist in the audience thinks that Yanji has defamed him, and in the end, he is a traitor to the human race. "Damn, both the master and the apprentice are scum," he curses. Fortunately, the protagonist says he managed to record everything with the recording stone in his hand. He thinks about exposing him when he returns to the court. The protagonist takes a few steps back, but ends up stepping on a bird, which curses him and asks him to watch where he's walking. The bird's loud reaction makes everyone turn to look at him. The protagonist, panicking, tries to calm himself and blames the bird, saying it stepped on his foot. The Demon King orders silence and, pointing at the protagonist, asks who he is since he doesn't recall seeing him before and why he is hiding his face. The protagonist begins to stutter and falter. Realizing he's likely been discovered, he kicks the bird and starts running. The Demon King orders them to capture the suspicious individual. All the demons chase after the protagonist. While running toward the exit, the girls arrive to cover him. The protagonist stops and tells them to run as well, as there are too many demons. The girls, surprised, start running too. While running, the protagonist says, "System, you're killing me. I'm in the devil's damn den." They run with the demons on their heels. After a while of fleeing, he seems safe. Leaning against a tree, he says, "Now I should be safe from any pursuit, right?" However, while distracted, a demoness who had been stalking him leaps from above with a knife to kill him. The protagonist notices but finds her mounting his neck and about to stab him. She screams that he will not escape and will die by her hand. The protagonist, seeing that she is not joking, shouts something to make her stop. "Wait! You are so beautiful. Surely you wouldn't kill someone without reason, right?" The compliment seems to have worked. Soon, she halts the blade before striking the protagonist. However, it was not the words, but rather where the protagonist was touching before saying that. While the woman stands frozen, the protagonist, sweating profusely, tries to say it was a misunderstanding. She, feeling offended, becomes even more intent on killing the protagonist. The protagonist crouches, and she jumps once more, attacking him. However, she misses, becoming even more furious while saying she will castrate him. Soon, she tries to strike him again. The protagonist keeps dodging, saying, "I am a virgin. I have not yet had the pleasure of becoming a man. If you're so angry, I will give you my first time. Why castrate me? Can't we be happy together?" However, she ignores him and keeps trying to stab him. While fleeing, the protagonist says, "It's better not to mess with her. The main thing is to stay alive." Then she decides to use energy to attack him. As he runs, he continues to say, "System, I just completed the demonic spirit research task, right? Quickly give me my reward." Soon the system responds, "Clever. Try to use the reward to take risks. The points can be used to buy items in the store. Good luck." He then asks if there is something in the store to save his life. The system shows a scroll for 100 points. A scroll of contract DS. Once activated, it can forcibly bind a demon and sign a slavery contract with it. After signing, the user can freely command the slave. Thinking it's a good deal, he buys the scroll, imagining what he can do with it, and activates the contract on her. A red aura shines around her, making her feel slightly uncomfortable. The system says, "The pact will hold the target for a while, but you will only have a quarter of an hour to sign the contract before it expires." The protagonist prepares and says she was very arrogant with him, so he cannot let this moment pass. He approaches her, takes her sword, and says, "I'll do to her what she did to me." Using her sword, he begins shouting, "Kill!" while striking her. After a while, feeling tired, the protagonist realizes she hasn't suffered any damage. The system explains, "You are only in the first stage of the body forging realm. How can you kill a third-level demon?" The human realm is roughly divided into the body forging realm and the divine lord, and each realm is subdivided into the initial, intermediate, and final stages. Meanwhile, the demonic realm is divided from the first to the 11th stage, each corresponding to the later stages of human cultivation. The final stage of the body forging realm in humans corresponds to the first category of demonic creatures, and so on. There's a significant difference between you and this demon. You can't kill her. Worried, he asks what to do. He proceeds and firmly establishes the contract with her. With a surprised expression, he says, "I would like to test the contract that can make the servant do anything." Pointing at her, he says, "You take off your clothes, show yourself to me." She, with a brief lifeless look as if struck by lightning, responds, "Yes, master." She leaps at the protagonist, saying she does not dare disobey his command. She begins tearing his clothes off, undressing him violently. The protagonist, with a look of someone being violated, hears her ask, "Master, can I not see?" She then tries to look beneath his pants. The protagonist shouts at her, "Hey! Don't overdo it! I'm not saying you can't, but..." He quickly commands, "Ahuya! I order you to stop any action and move away from me immediately!" After this command, she halts momentarily, but then yells at the protagonist, accusing him of trying to take advantage of her. She declares she will kill him and attempts to punch him. Frightened, the protagonist says, "You're my slave. I can stop you, but I don't want to die." The punch that was about to land on him stops just short. At that moment, his sisters arrive, calling out to him. They rush toward him, yelling for the demon woman to stay away from him. However, the protagonist shields her to prevent his sisters from attacking her. He tells them to stop because she is one of them now. Curious, they ask what he means. He explains that she is his slave. The elder sister exclaims, "She's a demon, and no one has ever enslaved a demon before." The protagonist replies, "I'll show you." He then orders the demon to approach him and kiss him. She obeys, saying, "Yes, master," and kisses him. However, in a brief moment, she attempts to attack him again, shouting about how he dares to take advantage of her so many times. The protagonist quickly responds, "I am the master. I can send you to hell with a single thought." Her attack misses, hitting a tree instead. Sweating cold, the protagonist says she shouldn't be so cruel to her master. His sisters, worried, grab him, asking if he is hurt. He assures them he is fine and suddenly recalls something. He shares bad news. In the cave, the demonic forces are gathering and planning to attack the demonic court. Confused, his sisters listen as the elder sister states they must return immediately. Otherwise, the court will be in danger. Looking at the demon woman, the protagonist commands her to return to where the demon king is and inform him of when the demon king's army will attack. She follows his orders and quickly disappears. The elder sister then insists they must go back to warn the court. The protagonist adds that Master Junkie is a traitor and that they must report him. Without delay, they set off. While climbing the steps of the demonic court, Mangbao asks if the court will truly believe their words. The protagonist assures her they have evidence. As they ascend, Master Junkie rushes forward with his henchmen, furious. He confronts the protagonist, shouting, "How dare you, Zhang Mao, return here after killing my disciple?" The protagonist calls out to Fuboki. Fuboki thinks, he must not be allowed to reveal our secret. He must die today. He then accuses the protagonist of killing his disciple and fleeing the tower without permission, declaring it a national crime. The protagonist defends himself, claiming it is a lie. Fuboki immediately orders his henchmen to kill the protagonist. They rush toward him, and the protagonist exclaims, "Damn you, Fuboki! Do you want to kill me to silence me?" The protagonist's sisters protect him and confront the henchmen. Determined to eliminate the protagonist, Fuboki declares that he cannot hide and leaps toward him, ignoring the sisters. With a powerful force emanating from his palms, Fuboki strikes the protagonist in the chest, knocking him to the ground. However, the protagonist quickly gets back up. Fuboki prepares another attack, using a blade conjured from his abilities to cut the protagonist. Before it lands, the protagonist's sisters intervene again, breaking Fuboki's power blade. The tension eases slightly, but Fuboki smirks. Now that they are all present, he announces his intention to end everything at once. From his hand, he releases a surge of energy, aiming to kill them all in one strike. However, someone of great importance intervenes, commanding him to stop and demanding an explanation. Fuboki immediately greets the newcomer, identifying him as the tribunal master, and informs him that Zhang Mao is committing crimes. Yet inwardly, he curses the tribunal master for appearing. The protagonist swiftly approaches and points at Fuboki, accusing him of attempting to kill him to bury his secrets. Fuboki denies the accusation, but the protagonist continues, saying, "Master, Fuboki is consorting with demons to seize control of the tribunal." The tribunal master, skeptical, responds that while he understands Zhang Mao's disagreement with the tribunal's sanctions, slandering others is unacceptable. The protagonist quickly insists he is not trying to slander anyone and claims to have proof. He pulls a stone from his robe, leaving Fuboki sweating in disbelief that he possesses a shadow stone. The protagonist hands the stone to the tribunal master, who asks if everything is recorded within it. The protagonist assures him to check. Fuboki, desperate, claims the protagonist is a criminal and cannot be trusted. The tribunal master silences him, and Fuboki complies. Upon examining the stone, the tribunal master initially encounters something embarrassing about the protagonist, causing him to blush. The protagonist hurriedly snatches the stone from the master's hands, claiming he gave him the wrong one, and retrieves another stone from his robes. Seeing an opportunity, Fuboki prepares to attack the protagonist, accusing him of mocking the master. However, before he can act, the tribunal master has already picked up another shadow stone and sees evidence of Fuboki conspiring with demons. The tribunal master confronts Fuboki, asking what this is about. Fuboki quickly denies everything, claiming Zhang Mao is fabricating lies. Growing angry, The tribunal master demands to know if Fuboki is blind to the evidence. Cornered, Fuboki realizes he cannot fight against the proof and attempts to flee, planning to seek help from the clan. He begins his escape, but before he can get far, the tribunal master slams his palm onto the ground, causing it to crack open and trap Fuboki in a fissure, leaving him with no chance of escape. The protagonist and his sisters marvel at the tribunal master's overwhelming power. The master of the court approaches the small precipice and sees Fuboki impaled below. He says he trusted him, that he gave him important tasks, but that he betrayed him. While he looks at Fuboki's lifeless body, a purple shadow rushes past him, leaving him surprised as he realizes it's a demon. Quickly, he tries to attack her, running in her direction. He strikes her, but the protagonist saves her at the last second, causing the master of the court to ask why he saved a demon. The protagonist immediately explains that she is his servant. The master, somewhat confused, listens as the protagonist clarifies, "If I protected her, sent her to infiltrate the demon clan, and now she's here to see me, there must be something important." The protagonist then asks her if she has any information. The demoness reveals that the Demon King is delaying his plans, and that tomorrow he will mobilize his army to attack them. They are shocked by the sudden timing. For the protagonist, the system assigns a mission to assassinate the Demon King and destroy the demon army to save the day. The mission is so complicated that the protagonist is momentarily stunned. His sisters become worried about his strange behavior as he stares at the system screen. The white-haired sister comments that the demon army is very strong, but the master is as powerful as the Demon King. Maybe they could withstand the attack. However, the protagonist is still in shock. He thinks, "I'm worried about my pleasure as a man. What should I do? If he fails this mission, the penalty will be losing his manhood." Calming himself slightly, he says, "Below the mission panel, there seems to be another line of text." He observes what the system says next. Mission strategy. The host can increase affection values with 2 older sisters and a maid. Reaching 90% affection with one of the elder sisters will grant power equal to the Demon King. He recalls the last time he killed the demon tree with such power. Logically, if he continues to increase the affection values with his sisters, he could become strong enough to kill the Demon King. Happy with this alternative, he hugs the 2 sisters and declares that his sexual happiness depends on them. They pretend not to understand, and the protagonist leaves, cheerful and smiling. The master of the court pats his shoulder and says he achieved great merit this time and instructs him to go to the armory to retrieve a magical weapon. The master then calls someone over, and his disciple appears. The master orders him to notify everyone about a meeting in the hall. The disciple nods and quickly leaves. A few hours later, the protagonist is at the edge of his house, speaking to the moonlight. Now my older sisters are resting. He contemplates ways to increase their interest in him. With an idea in mind, he says, "I don't have much of a base of attraction with the eldest sister yet. It should grow faster, so I'll flirt with her first." He walks to her room. She is inside, wearing her underwear, feeling quite tired and preparing to sleep. Someone knocks on her door. She opens it slightly to see who it is. Standing outside is the protagonist, waiting for her to appear. He says to her, "Tonight has been a long night of insomnia. I thought I was the only one unable to sleep, but you couldn't either, right?" She, not fully understanding what he means, affirms, "How could I sleep if you're knocking on my door?" The protagonist, pointing at her, says, "Earlier, I wasn't knocking on your room door, but on the door to your heart." He then holds her by the shoulders, pressing her against the door. Holding her chin and leaving her blushing, he asks, "Elder sister, could we deepen our friendship? I feel you're special." She asks what he's talking about, but deep down, she had understood perfectly. Her affection for the protagonist jumps to 80%. She grabs him by the collar and throws him into her room. The protagonist is left confused by the situation. She crawls toward him, asking if they should really improve their friendship. She approaches him and says, "Why are you hiding? You were so harsh just now." The protagonist, falling under her charm, asks if she isn't feeling cold wearing all those clothes. She grabs him and says that dressed like that, she doesn't feel so cold. The protagonist, measuring her intensity, runs away, afraid of losing control. Seeing the percentage, he realizes she's interested in him, and now there's only 10% left to reach the goal. The protagonist's older sister, left alone in her room, is frustrated that he left her with all this heated atmosphere, making it hard for her to bear. Outside, the protagonist receives a system message. Congratulations, attraction level 90% with the older sister. The host's yang energy will rise, transforming yang energy into cultivation. The protagonist begins to emanate power, even levitating briefly and surpassing his realm, reaching the Forge realm. The next day, the Demon King and his army march. He stops and says, "Finally, we're at the Demon Control Court, and it's time to settle old grudges." Chaos erupts inside the clan, with bystanders not believing the demons had truly arrived. The sisters observe that all enemies are there. The Demon King shouts, "How dare they block us with so few men?" Flying over his army, he commands them to advance and kill everyone. The sisters realize there are indeed many demons. The Demon King leaps toward them, asking if they're looking for him. While the war rages outside, the protagonist is in the arsenal choosing a weapon to use. A small rusty dagger catches his attention. He picks it up, thinking it's a special weapon. He feels it. Distracted, the arsenal's window is struck by battle debris from outside. He quickly runs, thinking the demons are already attacking. Upon arriving outside, he sees the clan engulfed in fire and destruction. Battles raging everywhere. Moving closer, the protagonist hides and notices that his sisters have been captured by the Demon King. The Demon King, thinking of toying with them, prepares to act. The protagonist, seeing his sisters being abused by such scum, grows impatient, holding the rusty dagger. The Demon King throws one of the sisters to the ground and removes his own clothes to commit unspeakable acts. On the ground, the sisters threaten to take their own lives rather than be defiled by such scum. The older sister suggests destroying her own Dantian if he dares to do anything. The Demon King, appearing distracted with the sisters for a moment, is caught off guard by the protagonist's attack with the dagger. However, due to the Demon King's strong cultivation, he quickly turns and grabs the protagonist's hand with ease. Realizing his stealth attack failed miserably, the protagonist creates distance from the Demon King. The Demon King finds this insolent, calling the protagonist a bastard. The inexperienced protagonist is then caught off guard by one of the Demon King's minions, who strikes his chest with a spear, causing the protagonist to kneel immediately and spit blood. His sisters become worried, but the protagonist is already on the ground with blood pouring out. In a brief moment, the rusty dagger he picked up in the arsenal begins to glow blue near the blood. The system quickly displays the phenomenon, announcing it has detected an ancient weapon. Ancient weapon. By injecting blood with yang energy, you can control the ancient power, increasing your strength. The combat value is equivalent to the late stage of the Grandmaster realm and lasts for a quarter of an hour. Warning: ancient weapons will consume a large amount of the host's yang energy. Overuse will harm your life. The protagonist, lying on the ground, losing hope, whispers, "In front of the Demon King, I'm less than trash." Suddenly, the dagger activates, making the protagonist's eyes glow blue. His sisters, seeing the situation worsening, place weapons to their own throats. One of the henchmen, noticing something strange happening to the protagonist, orders him to look. Surprised? Before the Demon King could turn to see what the henchman referred to, the protagonist swiftly cuts the henchman's throat, killing him instantly, and demonstrating great speed, strength, and mastery with the dagger. This astonishes everyone present, even his own sisters, who doubt whether this is truly their brother. The protagonist, with blue lines on his face and glowing blue eyes, speaks in a deeper, more resolute voice. "I will never let my sisters fall into demon hands." The dagger's glow intensifies. The Demon King's henchmen emerge from the shadows and attack the protagonist all at once. However, with his newfound power, the protagonist dispatches the minor foes with ease, leaving only the Demon King to witness his subordinates fall at his feet. The Demon King, shocked, asks, "How could this boy with his strength alone defeat my entire elite?" The protagonist, turning with a commanding gaze, declares, "Now it's your turn, Demon King!" As he charges toward the Demon King, the system alerts him with a warning. The dagger is consuming too much of the host's vital energy, approaching maximum alert level. Ignoring the message, the protagonist attacks the Demon King, who summons his magical weapon. But before the Demon King can defend himself, the protagonist lands a strike to his chest. After the blow, the system warns again. "Absorption has reached the maximum level. Cease weapon usage immediately." The protagonist, surprised, mutters, "It's not enough," and prepares another attack on the kneeling Demon King, who now has a wound in his chest. Refusing to surrender, the Demon King rises and counters with his red magical axe, asking again, "How did you become this strong?" The weapons clash, and the magical strikes ricochet off the weakened protagonist. The Demon King quickly turns and attacks again, mocking, "Is this all you've got?" With his guard down, the protagonist risks being overwhelmed, but the Tribunal Master intervenes, saving the protagonist's life. The Tribunal Master asks, "Is it truly you, Zhang Mao?" The protagonist ignores him, seeing an opening in the Demon King's stance. Using his speed, he appears behind the Demon King and delivers a fatal blow. The Demon King falls lifelessly, and the protagonist, unable to handle the dagger's strain, collapses. As he loses consciousness, the system announces the mission is complete. By nightfall, the protagonist awakens in the spot where he fainted, startled, calling out for his sisters. Looking around, he fears everyone has died. While lamenting, a beautiful woman appears, introducing herself. The system identifies her as Zhao Yin-yun, the youngest elder of the Demon Control Court, an adventurous spirit since birth. She has the ability to generate immense yang energy, increasing her cultivation, and can enhance her power further through dual cultivation. She addresses the protagonist as her disciple. The surprised protagonist echoes, "Master?" She kneels, saying, "My dear disciple, you've achieved something great." With tears in his eyes, the protagonist cries, "Master, you've finally returned. I'm useless. I couldn't save my sisters, and all the men of the Demon Control Court are dead." She calms him, explaining that she had sent others to clear the battlefield. Shocked, the protagonist realizes everyone is alive and checks the system message, which congratulates him on his achievement and rewards him with 1,000 points and a body-forging pill. The pill materializes and immediately enters his body, causing him to absorb its power. As a surge of energy flows through him, the system alerts. The body-forging pill can advance any body realm by 1 level. The master's surprised that he achieved a breakthrough. After the breakthrough, she approaches him and says it's been so long since she last saw him, and now he's advancing so quickly. The protagonist lets out an awkward laugh and suddenly remembers his sisters, asking where they are. The master says they are recovering in the pill pavilion. The protagonist quickly turns around and says he's going there. The master, feeling a bit jealous, thinks he didn't even consider her and only seems to think about them. The protagonist opens the door to one of the rooms in the pavilion and sees his older sister inside, dressed only in a towel, making him flush. The protagonist says he didn't mean to walk in with her dressed like that. The older sister, being somewhat shameless herself, says she has a request for him, so it's okay. She then moves her hand, making a piece of fabric wrap around the protagonist and pulling him close to her, bringing them together in an embrace. She explains that after their last interaction that night, her cultivation had increased significantly. Looking into his eyes, she asks if he could give her some attention that night. Embarrassed, the protagonist asks her if she's sure, thinking it would be great since it would allow his strength to reach new heights. Without hesitation, the older sister jumps on him. While they play tag in the water, the system keeps chiming, notifying that his heart value is increasing. Their playful interaction becomes so intense that it causes his sister to advance to a new level. The system then notifies that the protagonist has reached 100% in heart value, causing his own level to rise, reaching the initial stage of the body ascension realm, the same level his sister just achieved. After releasing a surge of energy, the sister is surprised that he also managed to break through. The protagonist, noticing his newfound strength, says, "So, once the heart value is full, you can practice dual cultivation and also level up." Once satisfied with their time together, the now-dressed protagonist hears an explosion and, startled, wonders what's happening. The courtmaster, observing the situation, asks one of his disciples what is going on. The disciple replies, "We were burning and cleaning up the demon corpses." The demon king's corpse exploded, and from the explosion his soul emerged, writhing in its failure but still clinging to a chance at survival. The courtmaster, seeing that the demon king might escape, begins chasing his soul. The protagonist and his sister join in, while the master says, "I couldn't do it last time. This time it's up to me." Once they locate the demon king, the courtmaster and the master surround him and start attacking. The demon king, despite being beaten, shows no signs of pain. The master presses her weapon against him, making him feel pain this time, and says, "Your soul is immortal, so we cannot deal with you by ordinary means." The courtmaster declares that they cannot let him survive, raising his hand to use an ability. The protagonist, arriving late to the scene, remarks that the demon king is quite cunning. However, the system suddenly chimes with a new mission: to use the remnants of the demon king's soul to refine a divine ability pill. This pill, once consumed, would unlock a random talent technique. The protagonist, intrigued by the mission, asks the system if it wants him to make a pill right now. The system responds, "Host, you can kill the demon king's residual souls and obtain the divine ability pill. 2 birds with 1 stone." The protagonist agrees, saying it sounds reasonable, and approaches the others, asking the courtmaster to leave it to him. He insists he needs to kill him. The courtmaster asks what he has in mind, and the protagonist says he plans to make pills. The demon king retorts that this is a serious matter and should not be treated lightly. The protagonist replies that he has a way to kill him, but needs the help of his older sister and his slave. He asks the master where his slave is and if she was killed. The master responds that she is injured and receiving treatment from Manga. The master agrees, saying that as his teacher, she will protect him during the pill-making process. The protagonist expresses his gratitude and asks for his older sister and slave to be brought to the alchemy room. An hour later, before a large cauldron, the master announces that everything is ready. The protagonist shouts that he's starting, and his sisters and the slave hold him in place. The master throws the demon king's soul into the cauldron, and the girls begin to feel their yin energy being drained. The slave screams that she can't take it anymore, but the protagonist reassures her, saying he'll use yin and yang energy to create a fusion, and it will be over in a minute. Shortly after, the master remarks that she senses a powerful aura emanating from the cauldron. The pill forms and enters the protagonist's forehead, granting him the ability to refine pills. The technique he unlocks is called shadow possession, which allows him to control a shadow creature within a 500-meter radius for 60 seconds, with a cooldown time of 1 day. The protagonist exclaims, "This martial art can actually listen and observe through shadows." The protagonist runs outside, saying there's movement. Outside, a side character comments on whether there's a plan for the next step. A woman replies that their master ordered them to keep Jiang Mao. If they succeed, they'll receive a great reward. The side character corners the woman against the wall, saying he misses her body and plans to have some fun with her. However, he senses a presence and shouts, asking if someone is there. The protagonist, hidden, thinks to himself, "So, the Court of Demon Control still has remnants of the demon tribe.